BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. With the largest selection of odds on everything from NBA and college basketball to the NHL and UFC, BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source. From every three-pointer to hat trick, BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here. Welcome, everyone. It is the Fly Guys podcast. Cameron Klein, I have to tell you, do you understand that this is episode number 199? We've done 199 of these. People have listened for 198 episodes, and we're still allowed to be a part of Broad Street Hockey's network. I'm pretty grateful. I'm pretty grateful to our peeps over there.
Me too. And the people that have stuck with us for this entire time too, because audience didn't increase definitely with Broad Street Hockey as they brought in some stuff, but we do have our core group of fans who have still stuck with us. So shout out to you people out there, the very small number of you. And as we get closer to 200, every time I think to myself 200, maybe we should do something special. And then I think,
100 was special. Like, because it was like, man, wow, 100. 200's not, it's not like it's not special, but,
It's like turning 30. It's like you're not 40 yet. You're not 20, 21. It's just sort of like, it's good. You reached the milestone, but
if we make it to episode 300, I'll show up. I'll wear a Sidney Crosby jersey for the show. I don't know. I could do that.
Don't say that. Don't.
Yeah.
Because knowing me and you, if there's nobody listening, we're still probably going to be doing this. So yeah.
Even if we got kicked off Broad Street Hockey, I'm pretty sure we'd still do this show.
Yeah.
But
because why not? Yeah. Because who cares?
Fun.
Who cares?
It's a lot of fun.
I'd be okay with a Hockey Canada Crosby jersey.
Oh,
that's the only way I'd find it acceptable. Like this, I can't do a Pittsburgh one. I just can't.
When I think of that too, I just think of 2010 golden goal past Ryan Miller, just a legendary goal. With that being said, Broad Street Hockey, don't kick us off the network. Like that's not an invitation to do so. I kind of want to stick around. But thanks for joining us for yet another edition of the Fly Guys podcast, and really only one Flyers game to even bring up, as the two conferences, the NHL has come back from the amazing tournament that was the Four Nation Face-Off, and we will get the chance to talk a little bit about the United States and Canada game, which was as fun as promised.
Oh yeah.
And so we enter this one though talking about a Flyers team that going into the break I don't think could tie their shoelaces the correct way, no less lace them up and play an actual game of hockey, Cameron. Whichever team that took the ice on Saturday was not the team that we last left off with going into the Four Nation Face-Off. That is a given.
Yeah, no, I loved it though. I loved it.
Every bit of it.
Because it was this moment where, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you could probably check it off to a bunch of things. It was funny because my brother was in town and I, we were talking about the game, and I was like, man, 6-3, they really, Edmonton, they kind of whopped them. And my brother immediately just went, no, okay, so McDavid's hungover from the, and I'm like, maybe that could definitely be true. But I don't know, maybe some guys saw what was going on in the Four Nations and they thought, like, as you're sitting on the couch by yourself, you're saying to yourself, man, I want to be able to play in a high intense level game like that. And a lot of the guys in the Flyers roster have not been able to, because they haven't been able to get to that point in the playoffs. And you saw that just especially from, we're going to talk about him, but Michkov, ridiculous, right? Ridiculous game.
A +5. A +5.
Ridiculous.
Forget about the 3 points for a second. A +5, as well as Owen Tippett. Do you think for even a second that the Flyers benefited from getting Owen Tippett back? Because my goodness. It looked like, the offense all of a sudden coming back to life, and Michkov looking like a really refreshed player, looking a lot like where we saw in the first 2 months of the season.
Very pissed off that Russia was not in the Four Nations. Very pissed off.
You know what? I think that he's making a good case that at the next Four Nation face-off, and I'm just going to put it out there right now, forget the All-Star games from here on out. Just do more Four Nation face-offs. Just do that. And definitely have, hopefully we could have Russia at the next one. But Sean Couturier, Owen Tippett, and Matvei Michkov, all +5s in the category for the Flyers. They take down the Edmonton Oilers 6-3. And another thing, Connor McDavid, maybe maybe just a little bit hungover from his golden goal against the United States. He was a -3, no goals, no assists, and I think more surprisingly, um, you know, only like a couple shots on goal, only 2 shots on goal the whole game. I mean, to be fair, he's known for being a distributor. I mean, he's the guy that'll get 40 goals and 150,000 assists in a season. But even to see him not register much on the stat sheet is pretty surprising. The Edmonton Oilers goals, of course, coming from John Klingberg and Leon Draisaitl, and that would be also Matthias Ekholm. And that would be it for them. As far as the Flyers go, you got goals from Sean Couturier, Andrei Kuzmenko. Welcome to the Philadelphia Flyers, getting his first goal in his first game, wearing number 96.
Mm-hmm.
We'll work on that. We'll work on that a little bit because that's not the number. That's just bad number analytics right there. Jacob Pelletier.
Yeah.
You think so? You think do you think that?
Well, I don't love the number 96. I think it was more because he was born in 96. He's worn 96 before. Maybe that's the reason behind why he's doing 96. But at the same time, like he's fighting for a roster spot, right? Like the idea was he wasn't really the prize of the trade. It was more the picks and the Pelletier. That's more of what they're looking at. And they're thinking Kuzmenko. We'll see what we got with him. Maybe he'll work. Maybe not. So it's nice to see though. It's nice to see that he's coming out swinging.
But Jacob Pelletier being given Ville Leno's number. Better number analytics right there. Didn't register a goal or an assist. He was a -1 on the ice in it was 11 minutes of ice time. So, obviously working him in. He's a younger player. Going to be getting assimilated. Kuzmenko getting 17 minutes though of ice time. I mean, there was no training wheels for him for John Tortorella. And then of course, welcome back to the main stage for our Canadian heroes in Travis Konecny and Travis Sanheim, who did play in that game against the United States. Everyone, I think, putting together good performances. Konecny gets another assist.
Mm-hmm.
How could you not be satisfied? How could you not be satisfied with what happened on Saturday? There's almost not much to talk about because of it was just a good game for the Flyers. I mean, the goaltending was, but that's
Fine.
what you come to expect. Yeah, very much.
Yeah, it was enough to get them the win, and that this season is a celebration,
Yeah. They got Pittsburgh tomorrow. Was that the dog? Is that the dog that I heard whining? I thought so.
Yeah, I turned myself down just a little bit to be like, it's all good. It's all good.
Dog wants your attention, man. It's all good. I can talk about
Olivia
the Flyers Penguins while you give him some attention.
Olivia just walked out, so yeah, he's crying about it.
The Penguins are making their first trip to Philadelphia this year. The Flyers lost to them 7-3 back in Pittsburgh. I think that was I want to say that was the day before Thanksgiving. That was when that game was played.
That sounds right. It was a holiday game. I remember because I was pissed off about it.
I don't think it was Christmas. Maybe it was Christmas. I want to say though it was closer to Thanksgiving. No, you know what?
I'll tell you right now.
It might have been Christmas because also, I don't know why I'm also mentioning that they as if that was the most recent game that they played because we beat them 3-2 back on February 8th. Yeah, that was the game before Christmas. Okay.
Yeah.
So they lose
December
7-3.
Yeah.
Yep, they lose 7-3. And then they beat the Penguins 3-2. Interesting thing though this year. I don't know if you noticed this. Flyers and Penguins. The 3 of the first 4 games that they play against each other, all in Pittsburgh. No discrepancy there on at least evening out when they're coming to Philadelphia. NHL does whatever the heck they want to do.
I was about to say we're going to complain about the same thing we complain about every year. The scheduling and it's the Flyers
you know me, Cameron. I'm a big time complainer. 3 of the 4 games this year against Pittsburgh are all on the road. I don't know how that works out. I thought it should always be 2-2. Maybe it's not. I mean, to be fair, they played the Devils. They're done playing the Devils. Are they? They should. No, they have one more game against the Devils, but that game's at home. They have a 2-2 split with New Jersey against the Islanders. Yeah, 2 on the road right there. Then they played the Islanders and lost them 3-0. That was a great game. Want to definitely relive that one. Yeah, it's interesting that they have a 2-2 split with the Islanders and the Devils, but not with the Penguins. That's how it works.
Yeah, I'm trying
to see. Why? You know why I'm saying that, Cameron? Because they already beat the Penguins at home.
Yeah.
So I got fooled by my own headline. I wrote down here Penguins making first trip to Philadelphia. I wrote it like before our show day.
And that jacked you up.
This is not their first
Yeah.
trip to Philadelphia.
Yeah. That jacked you up. It's all right. It's all right. We all get caught. I was wondering. I thought maybe you were seeing something I wasn't seeing, but
My notes were not correct. That's what it was. See,
But
it's
still,
Russ.
so
We hadn't talked about hockey in like over a week. The Eagles Super Bowl, was the big thing.
little hungover ourselves. Little hungover.
Yes, a little hungover ourselves.
But no. So yeah, last time they played, they did win at home. So theoretically, maybe, possibly, who knows? Maybe they could do it. I guess. Will it matter? I think that's more of the question going into it for the rest of the season. I guess how much do we value just cultural wins at this point?
As much as listen, at this point, you want to see a good draft pick for the Flyers, but I'm never going to complain when they beat Pittsburgh or New Jersey because those are the two teams I hate the most. But
it's this silver lining of, well, we want a good draft pick, but at the same time, you also want pride within the team and pride within the locker room, and you're not going to get that from losing too. So
the Flyers, the rest of the way, they don't exactly have the hardest schedule. They've got to play Winnipeg twice. They've got Pittsburgh 2 more times. They got to play New Jersey 1 more time. They've got Ottawa. They got to play Montreal twice. They got to go to Toronto. This is between March 17th and March 25th. Listen to this road trip that the Flyers have. That is a road trip. Wow.
It's a gauntlet. It's a gauntlet.
Bay, at Washington, at Dallas, at Chicago, at Toronto. That is a gauntlet right there to have to go through.
The silver lining is the back-to-back. The second game is Chicago, where it's like, okay, a little bit of a break there.
But to be fair, we've said the same thing last year when the Flyers were making a playoff push and we lost to Chicago like 5-2. That was bad. I would, if I was a betting man, I would say it'll be in that streak, that 5-game road trip that the Flyers playoff hopes probably get put to bed. I would think. Because those are hard teams to play. Like Dallas on the road, they never do that well in. Washington has just had our number all year, and they've had every team's number all year.
I think they have 15 goals in the past two games. Washington, Saturday and Sunday over this weekend. It was like 15 goals total by the team. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it's normal stuff. Normal things to be scoring 15 goals in 2 games.
Ridiculous. Yeah. So you're right. I mean, for I think a lot of people, the playoff hopes are already kind of dashed, but there's that little sliver where the door's not fully closed yet. And no, I agree. I think if it's not already happened by that point, that'll be the moment where it's like, okay, if there's any hope, this is either where it dies or where it becomes something new, and we think we're going to win a Stanley Cup. It's one of those two things is going to happen. So
someone will tell me. And by someone, I mean me. I'll be telling myself, well, the Flyers are only 5 points out of a playoff spot right now behind the Ottawa Senators. A few wins here, a few wins there all of a sudden. And it's just like, yep, that's how you trick yourself. But as we get back to hockey, let's just take a look at the standings as they sit right now.
Yep.
The Atlantic Division it's tight. It's tighter than a Scout's not right now. Toronto Maple Leafs sitting at the top with 72 points. The Florida Panthers in second at 71 points, and the Tampa Bay Lightning at 68 points. And then the Detroit Red Wings, 8 points back of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Ottawa Senators, a little further back at 10 points. And then the Boston Bruins, if the season ended today, they're not even in the playoffs right now. So I'm sure that people have been loving what's been happening over in Boston.
And it's basically as if the season ended today, because they found out Hampus Lindholm is not coming back throughout the rest of the season, which they were kind of hoping for. Charlie McAvoy gets hurt during the Four Nations. They're not happy with apparently how Team USA handled that. Theoretically, they don't know any timetable of his return. At the same time, there's constant rumors about Marchand getting shopped. Now, I don't really think there's any truth to that. I really don't. I think that's more just speculation because he's the most valuable guy. Sort of in the same way for the last 3 years before Claude Giroux was traded, he was always brought up because they're like, well, he has a tremendous amount of value and they can get the most out of him and yada yada yada. But it's not looking great in Boston, and they have not a great prospect pool. They have not picked in the first 2 rounds in the last 7 years, I think.
Well, so that was going to be my question about Boston. You're saying that they probably wouldn't trade Marchand. What about Pastrnak?
I think they'd be foolish, but
you think they'd be foolish to trade him?
I not necessarily, but I think you have to commit to. You have to be, again, like the Flyers have been. You have to be outright upfront about what's happening with the organization. You can't
Yeah.
fool a town like this. You have to come out and be like, "We're rebuilding."
Do you
And I
think
don't
that
know if that's
Boston?
going to fly with the current ownership group in Boston.
Well, I was going to ask you. Do you think that Boston? It's not. It's not like that you're in their front office. It's not like you have a set. You
Right.
just happen to live in that area. But would you get the
Yeah.
feel that Boston feels that a rebuild is coming, or do you think that this might be like, oh, this is a one-off for them?
It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. I think that the fan base feels like something needs to change. I think, however, the ownership group and the management there thinks that it could possibly be a one-off, and that they could, trigger warning, aggressively retool and fix things. So I kind of think that's where the management's heads. And again, that's just off of speculation, off of just interviews that I've heard. I'm not, like you said, not getting any insider information. But the fan base, I would imagine, is just like, we need to really evaluate this thing and figure out what's going on, because the writing's on the wall. Again, they don't have much of a prospect pool. The stars are aging. They're dealing with a lot of injuries, and they are dealing with a lot of injuries. But I think the way they're viewing it is, well, if we didn't have these injuries, then we would be right there in. And I don't necessarily think that that's the case. But
Well, I mean, Boston has come. I mean, they've remember this is a team that just 2 years ago had 135 points, had only lost 12 games in regulation. And the problem with that year is that that's also the year the fans will likely remember that them getting just absolutely stunned by the Florida Panthers in round one of the playoffs. And even last year, finished with 109 points. They were 1 point off from winning the the Atlantic Division, and then they beat Toronto in round one. Another
big
game
whoop.
7 with Toronto.
Right.
But then when they played Florida, it was a bit of a different story. So
Yeah.
I think that they're going to be interesting to watch next year, like how it looks next year for them. Because if this is the beginning of a slide for Boston, and you're saying they don't have a great prospect pool, well, they could be headed into a certain type of purgatory hell that Flyers fans are all too familiar and intimate with.
Yes. No. And like, again, you look at their prospect pool. Their prospect pool is on the level as like Florida's is, which is not great. But part of the reason why is because Florida has a great team. So all the prospects that made their pool great a couple years ago are now playing for the team, or they've traded guys away to bring in guys like Matt Tkachuk and yada, 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 to go after a Stanley Cup, which they ultimately won. And the Bruins are not at that place right now.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Tkachuk is in his prime leading that team. Brad Marchand is not. He's on the wrong side of 30. He's aging up. Pasternak's great, but after you get past that top heavy unit, kind of teeters a little bit, and that's where you need that big prospect pool, which they just don't have.
Well, I mean, it's also it's similar to the Penguins. How the Penguins are in a much worse spot than Boston is necessarily. At least that's how we would see it right now.
Yes.
But after you get past the great Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin, it's kind of up in the air as to who the attacking is going to come from.
Mm-hmm.
But you mentioned Marchand. Remember, this guy that's been here since the 2009-2010 season. He made his first ever appearance with the Boston Bruins, played 20 games that year. And so he's been in the league 16 years. So you're right. He's not getting younger.
Yeah, his technical rookie season was when they won the Stanley Cup in 2011. That was the first time he played more than, whatever it is, like 25 or 40 games, whatever it is,
that year,
when you're no longer a rookie.
41 points in 77 games. I mean, again, we have dunked on Marchand plenty. If you're a Flyers fan, especially, him missing the puck or accidentally touching the puck but not getting all of it for the shootout. We make fun of him for when he would lick players, which, seriously, dude, why the hell did you do that? That's really weird. But, other than Patrice, if it wasn't Patrice Bergeron as the face of the Boston Bruins, it was Brad Marchand. He was like the opposite of Patrice. Patrice was the nice guy, the guy that would, help you up after, you've been clobbered by Zdeno Chara. Yeah. Brad Marchand would be the type to take off his skate and throw it at you after you've been knocked over by Zdeno Chara.
Yeah, it's a Jekyll and Hyde between the two of them. Yeah, 100%. They're both guys that care about the game more than anything else, just in very different ways. Very different ways. But you want both
Uh,
of them on your team. You do. And any
oh,
fan of hockey would love to have a player like that on their team. As much as we crap on Brad Marchand, we'd all love him. But
if Travis Konecny became the next Brad Marchand, who would complain in Philadelphia about that?
and if you look at their stats,
It's not. It's not that. It's
that's
not a stretch. It's not
no
a
Travis
stretch.
Konechny's his stats are again not by much, but they're teensy bit better than Brad Marchand's were around this time of his career. So he's on that same trajectory. He is. I mean,
When
like
it,
you said, smaller guy, feisty, loves to talk shit. I could totally see Travis Konechny liking somebody. I could see that. I could see that.
uh, and then sticking with the standings talk over the Metropolitan, it just feels like it's a runaway at this point with the Washington Capitals, 38-11-8. They just don't show any signs of slowing down. They have by far and away the best goal differential in the Eastern Conference. Carolina's sitting there at 70 points, but you don't feel that great about them. New Jersey, I actually feel better about New Jersey than I do Carolina at this point. They're sitting there at 70 points. And then as you go further into the Metropolitan, the Blue Jackets fighting for a playoff spot. I'm kind of rooting for them. They're a feel-good story for everything that's happened with them. The Rangers, oh boy, it's not looking good. It's not
good. Go away.
I mean, yeah, well, good. Yeah, I mean, like, screw them. But, like, oh boy, it does not look good for them. The Islanders have played better, although they've lost 3 in a row. When the Flyers last played them, they were kind of on that little heater that they had. They're sitting there at 57 points. Flyers tied with them with 57 points. And then the Penguins, the mighty Pittsburgh Penguins, how the mighty fall, 55 points, dead last in the Metropolitan, second to dead last in the Eastern Conference, the Pittsburgh Penguins. Don't you just feel horrible when bad things happen to bad people? I feel horrible.
I don't feel horrible. I feel very indifferent, obviously, because it's just like, yeah, this is what's going to happen. I do. It is very interesting to me that this is just what happens with the Penguins every 15 years, right?
Yeah.
They bring in a star. They're amazing. Top of the world, premier franchise. Star goes away or starts to decline. It's just absolutely in the toilet joke of a franchise. And it's like you're seeing the reason why they're not below the Buffalo Sabres, the reason why their numbers aren't worse than the San Jose Sharks are, is because of Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin and Chris Letang, because of those cores. That core. If you take them away, I mean, you're talking the worst team in the league. I'm sorry. And it's like, how does it always happen with Pittsburgh? How are we here yet again? Are we going to go through the rumors of selling the team again? Probably. And
is Kansas City going to finally get their hockey team? They could use it. They could use a hockey team after what's happened to them. But yeah. Oh, did you just get what I was saying?
Yeah, because they're so devastated. They're like, we're not going to do football anymore. It's done.
I don't think there's anything worth coming back to.
No,
but
I would agree.
As far as Pittsburgh goes, it's kind of funny though. How much do you think Pittsburgh brass would love to undo that Erik Karlsson trade right about now? Just have never done that one. How about or trading a first round pick for who was the guy from Minnesota that they acquired? Oh crap! I'm gonna have to look that up right now. But yeah, like the Erik Karlsson trade.
Oh, Jason Zucker?
There we go. Zucker. They traded a first-round pick for Zucker. And the goalie prospects. Matt Murray never really worked out. Casey DeSmith never really worked out. Tristan Jarry really never worked out. And so now you're relying on, like, Alex Nedeljkovic, Joel Blomqvist. It's not great. But, man, that Erik Karlsson trade, boy, does that look bad at this point. That is a bad, bad, bad trade.
It is. But it's like, you knew that going into it. You only make that trade if you're right on the cusp, right? If you're like, we need a little bit of more puck movement to be able to handle the Florida Panthers, to be able to move it away from their physicality, right? Something like that. Pittsburgh was not at that spot, and they haven't been at that spot since the last time they won the cup. And it's I respect a part of it where it's like you're witnessing them essentially dying, and they're like, we're not going down without a fight. We're going to try to salvage as much as we can, but totally foolish. Foolish. Erik Karlsson is a just great point getter, not a great defenseman. He's not going to be your lockdown guy. And when your only other lockdown guy is Chris Letang, who's 35 years old, you're going to need more than that. You're going to need more. You're going to need someone else to help plug up the holes in your boat. And Erik Karlsson's never been the guy to do that.
Just remember, though, that Erik Karlsson had his finest year technically with the San Jose Sharks, 25 goals, 76 assists, 101 points. He was still a minus 26, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh traded for a guy coming off of the best year of his career, going into his 33rd year of life. Since then, he's got 17 goals, 79 assists, minus 15, and he's averaging his lowest career minutes on ice, his time on ice marks. Through all, there is no way of looking at it other than just an abject failure of a trade, which you and I could see in the moment. Most NHL fans could see it in the moment. But Pittsburgh, for whatever reason, in 23-24, still fancied themselves as one piece away from being right up there with Florida, Toronto, Tampa. New York at the time was seen as a great team. The Devils were coming along just fine. This has been a disaster.
Yeah, and I have to look too. I'm looking right now because that season that he was fantastic in. Right? Let me see.
What, San Jose?
Yeah. The season where he had his best season. They were 22, 44, and 16.
It's 60 points.
7th in the Pacific Division, 25th out of 32 in goals for. And it's like, again, I love that he had that great year. What's it worth? If it's just going to completely fall apart? It's not worth anything. And
these were not the San Jose Sharks of yesteryear with Pete DeBoer, and they were going to the Western Conference Final and overcoming 3-1 deficits to the Kings. That team had long sailed. So when San Jose got the call from Pittsburgh about offering first-round picks, they must have been like, "Oh my God, yes, get him out of here. We need to rebuild."
And again, it's just when you look back at it, it's a series of mistakes, just a multiple series of mistakes. When they're in their possible mindset of we're going to need to gun for it now because our window is closing. You got Ron Hextall as your GM, one of the most conservative-minded. We're not going to sell the picks, don't play the kids guy as the guy who's leading this thing. It's just it's very perplexing from the top all the way down. All the way down. And then they overcorrected with Kyle Dubas, who's just going to sign anybody to any contract. And again, bring in a guy like Karlsson because who cares? We're playing with house money, and it's just going to push you so deeper into that, further deeper into that hole. And that's kind of where they're finding themselves.
Kyle Dubas' strength in Toronto was cap manipulation, like the Howie Roseman of the NHL.
Yeah.
I would not say Kyle Dubas' strength was talent recruiting or talent finding.
No.
I mean, you look at that Toronto team, they kind of lucked in. They lucked in some guys. Dubas wasn't there when they drafted Morgan Riley. I think he was the assistant general manager when they got Matthews and Marner. But throwing a bunch of money at John Tavares, that doesn't take much. It doesn't take much to do that. Just caution to the wind with that.
Right.
And then signing William Nylander, Marner, Matthews, all these guys to these massive extensions. And then you look up and you don't have a right shot defenseman, and you wonder why this team has been struggling for years. It's because they don't have, after you get through the top four, who is left? Nick Robertson? I mean, there's a reason why Toronto always flames out. And I'm not saying that Kyle Dubas was the worst GM, but he was not going to be the guy to pull the Penguins out of a tough situation.
Exactly. He's just the wrong guy for this situation. And it seems like it was just a gross overcorrection from Ron Hextall. We're going to do the exact opposite and try to bring in whatever we can to salvage this. And it's like, well, you're already in this hole because you decided to go with the more conservative guy at first. There's no easy way out of this, and that's what you're seeing. That's why you're seeing that they are performing worse than the Flyers are right now, as the Flyers are open and publicly in a rebuild. And it is what it is.
Western Conference standings. The Winnipeg Jets are not collapsing yet. They're not going to they did this thing again where they did the really strong start and then they floundered last year.
Yeah.
But this year it's been different. 40, 14, and 3, 83 points. So the only team within an earshot of the President's Trophy contending Washington Capitals, which, as we all know, winning the President's Trophy is obviously the most prestigious thing you can do in the NHL. And every team that wins the President's Trophy always wins the Stanley Cup.
It
Very
always goes well.
historically documented as that.
It's never been anything but, right?
Dallas Stars, 37, 18, and 2. They're looking just fine. And that's a strong organization they run down in Dallas. And I don't think Dallas ever gets talked about enough because they haven't won a cup, obviously, but they're consistently putting together contenders down there. So good for Dallas. The Minnesota Wild have put together a very solid team this season. They're third in the Central Division.
And good for them, just because Minnesota needs to have a good hockey team. It's probably one of the most hockey-centric states in this country. They need to have a good hockey team.
It's Canada South. It's just what it is. I mean, they're Minnesota is essentially Canada. Just don't tell that. I'll move on. And then so in the Pacific Division, the Vegas Golden Knights sitting there at 74 points. Edmonton Oilers, who we just saw the other day, still looking fine. But man, Cameron, does that goalie issue never not rear its ugly head when it comes to the Edmonton Oilers? At some point, an Oilers fan is reminded, oh, that's right, we're not best sound at defense or goaltending.
Death, taxes, and the Edmonton Oilers not having a good goaltender, not having a consistently good goaltender. It's just you can't ride it.
Wild card looks like this. The Colorado Avalanche are sitting there in the one wild card spot, and then the Vancouver Canucks, who have not had the season that I think they were hoping for. Cameron, they were actually, and it wasn't because I looked at the roster and I did this deep dive of analysis. They were my pick to being like a disappointing team. I was like, I don't feel like Vancouver is just going to all of a sudden be a great team again. And I base that off of nothing than old Philly me just being like, I don't like them.
Nah, they don't got it. Kid don't got it.
Kids don't got it.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but he's a loser. He's a loser. Like, pretty much every person in Philadelphia talking about Sirianni until like 3 days ago or 3 weeks ago, where they're all just like, they're never going to win because he's a loser. It's like, well, until he isn't, right?
Until he isn't. Now he's the greatest coach in Eagles history all of a sudden.
Naturally. But no, I mean, I kind of get that feeling because they had this new coach. They kind of overperformed last year, right? They were kind of better than everyone expected them to be. So I get your gut feeling of having that. And
they were like
right.
what the Flyers could have been if overachieving had stayed the course in Philadelphia for the entirety of last year. And then they had that, they had the really exciting playoff round with the Kings. They won that one, and then they lost to the Edmonton Oilers in the next round. I think it was them. It was either them or the Dallas Stars, but they then lost in the next round. And the sky was the limit, right? Like, Dallas. Was it Dallas? It might have been.
I think so. Doesn't matter. But,
the sky's the limit. They're going to be just fine. Competitive hockey has returned to Vancouver for the first time since the Daniel Sedin and Henrik Sedin days. And I'm saying this as if they're a bottom feeder. They're probably going to make the playoffs. I mean, I don't, unless Calgary's right there with 62 points, only 1 point behind them. The Utah Hockey Club, for some reason, won't die and go away. St. Louis is there. Anaheim's there. I don't know why Anaheim's there. And then the Kraken are all still within, 9 points or less of Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, why the hell when did Anaheim get a winning record?
The last 10 games, 7-2-1.
Are you kidding?
7-2-1. Yeah, all led by Cutter Gauthier. No, I have no idea. I don't know how he's doing in that stretch, but I'll look into it.
No, he's got 24 points, 56 games. He's still a scrub. This kid sucks. Kids don't got it. He doesn't got it. Not tough. Not like my Matfee kid. But
let's still take Matfee.
I don't really know what to say as far as Vancouver goes, other than, it's about what I thought they'd be. I never thought that they were going to be all of a sudden right up there with the Knights and the Stars. I thought, okay, if they're going to be competitive again, they're a wild card team. Maybe they could crack into the top 3 of their division. But honestly, I think a better turnaround story in terms of rebuilding, that Los Angeles Kings have done such a great job turning their franchise around.
I'm honestly, as people, when we were in high school when they went on their run, right? 2012, 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Given that we were at such an impressionable age, I'm glad to see them back. It's just it feels right to me. I'm like the Kings need to be competitive in my mind. They do, and I'm glad.
It is interesting because the guy from those runs. There's I believe one guy left, right, from that run. It's Kopitar. Is he the last guy?
No, Drew Doughty is still there.
Oh, that's right, Drew Doughty.
Drew
Remember
Doughty
when
is still there.
Drew Doughty was going to be the greatest defenseman ever, and then he was,
Yeah.
and then he wasn't, and now I guess he's back
He's
to
bounced
being.
back. He's good. He's good. He's not what he probably was going. What a lot of people thought he was going to be, but he's not completely inserviceable like he was for a stretch there.
He returned to action on Saturday because he's been injured all year. He returned on Saturday against Utah. 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points. So, trying to copy Matvei Michkov, trying to be like his hero Michkov, which I respect.
One of the least intimidating voices in hockey, right?
Really?
Have you ever heard him talk?
No, I haven't.
Like when he's mic'd up specifically, very high pitched.
No, really?
Very high pitched. It's hard to be like, especially when you hear him because he's cursing all the time, and it's just like it's up there. Definitely recommend looking into it.
That's kind of interesting. Can I get hold on, let me see if I can pull this up.
There's one from earlier back in the day. I want to say it was when they were on the road to the Winter Classic, maybe against the Ducks. And he's saying to somebody, it's just like it's so high pitched, but he's just like, "I will fucking fuck you up, buddy." Like it just tickles me. It just tickles me.
Oh wow, yeah, that's pretty high pitched. Wow,
yeah, yeah, dude, yeah.
But yeah, so that's
good. It's good.
That's what's going on in the NHL, guys. Not a whole lot obviously has changed because we only just got back. In case you forgot where we were, there's your little roundup. Who's going to win each conference? Honestly, this is a year where I think it could be anyone from any conference. Anyone could win the East. I would think Washington should. I think most people would say Washington should, but don't sleep on the defending champions. Don't sleep on the Lightning because you never know, because the Lightning have played a lot better of late. And don't sleep on the Devils, in my opinion. You can fully sleep on the Penguins, though. You can take a nap. You can turn out the lights. You don't have to worry about waking up for them.
Yeah, they're just about. You can stick a fork in them almost by this point. And it's funny because I'm still not going to count the Carolina Hurricanes out. I think the reason why a lot of people, including us, are just kind of just like, yeah, and they're there again, is because that's how it's been, right?
Yeah.
The last 10 years, it's just like, well, they're number 2 in the Metro again. We'll see if that even means anything. But I don't know. Maybe I'd like to think that desperation is starting to be like, guys, come on, seriously, let's get past the second round. They are the Sixers of the.
Well, and that's the thing. Yeah. That's the thing. Like, it is Rod Brindamore their Doc Rivers? Because again, if this doesn't go after the trade for Ranson that they made, and to bring in Taylor Hall as well,
yeah,
I'm just not sure that they're going to. I'm just not sure that they're not going to do a shakeup in the coaching staff.
Oh yeah, that contract extension last year might be a kiss of death. Might be a kiss of death, depending on how the season goes.
Well, if I know anything, as a Philadelphia sports fan, you can get out of any contract that you want to get out of. You just gotta wish hard enough.
Yeah.
But we're gonna take a quick. I want to take a quick break. When we come back, let's talk about the big thing that happened in hockey: the United States versus Canada. A game filled with narratives. A game filled with political tensions, as it turns out, for some reason between these two countries. Yeah. And we'll talk about the hero of that night. Oh, Canada. We'll be right back. Welcome back, Fly Guys Podcast. Cameron Klein, Justin Goodhart. Glad you could join us for episode number 199. And while we were having our break, we wanted to revisit the goal that was heard around the world. Canada, United States earlier last week was fun as hell. And United States winning 3-1. The 3 fights in the first, minutes of the game. Not even minutes. The first 10 seconds of the game, there were 3 fights, and so you knew that going into this game, a couple of things were true. You knew that Canada was going to want that game probably more than anything in the world after what happened, and I think you were going to see a U.S. team determined to show that it wasn't a fluke, that we really are now, we're with you guys. We are step for step with you guys. Yeah. And in many ways, both things were accomplished, for each side. I think the United States proved They can hang with Canada just fine. And Canada got the win that they absolutely craved, probably more than anything else. And it was Connor McDavid left all alone, just hanging out. Like the nerd that no one wants to go sit with at lunchtime. He's just there at the table by himself with his Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Yep. Just
And
eat dessert by himself like Steven Glansberg, man.
and
Shout out to Superbad, great film, all time great. But yeah, he was wide open by himself in the slot.
Now, as Cameron and I reviewed the Zapruder film, and we determined we can correctly assess blame, because that's what you do as an analyst. You assess blame.
It's the best part of the job.
It's the only part of the job that's worth having, because you're not an athlete, so you can insult other athletes.
I don't know what I would have done, and I wouldn't have even been in the position to begin with. But if I was,
this is what I know.
It's that.
Austin Matthews, though, crashing in at the corner, leaving the slot alone, and Connor McDavid just untouched, just hanging out. There he was.
Just chilling.
I think it's a safe assumption to say Matthews should not have left his post and should have not tried to go to the corner.
It's, you can say things in hindsight. I appreciate the aggressiveness of it. It's overtime. You want to get the puck back, especially because Binnington, we were talking off air, Binnington made these 2 ridiculous saves.
And we're going to talk about him on air, too.
Yeah, right before that, which sends it back the other way, and you want to try to quickly get the puck back over and get momentum back on your side. So it's like I can appreciate his mindset, but at the same time, it is positioning 101, right? It's what John Tortorella loves the most in his coaching style, which is you got to know where you are at the right times. And in that moment, you got defensemen in front of the net trying to battle the guy out of it. That's what they're supposed to do. Other defenseman is around the net going after the guy who has the puck, applying pressure. At that moment, it is the center's job to block that passing lane. And my man got a little too aggressive and goes into the corner, leaves the most dangerous man on the ice wide open.
And so, but the thing is, and even more as I look at the play, you have 2 Americans. You have an American that's coming around the net, and then you have Hughes, Jack Hughes. He's in the face-off circle. If Matthews stays there, then you have to think that puck's going to go back to the point, and they're going to try and set up that way.
If he blocks that pass, he intercepts it, he dishes it back up. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The breakout's already happening. Yep.
But at that point, and the screenshot that I have pulled up is just perfect. It's the 3 Americans after the pass has been made, and it's pretty much on McDavid's stick. You have 3 Americans all just turn around and realize who is wide open alone and just ready to shoot. And at that moment, I can only imagine what Connor Hellebuck was thinking in his head, but I'm sure it probably wasn't, oh, good, it's him.
Right, dude. He's one of the few, it's him, and then it's like Alex Ovechkin in his office. It's like as soon as a goaltender, it's not even there yet, right? And you see it going there, you're like, shit, oh no, here we go. Oh, there's no way, there's no chance, man.
In the context of Ovechkin's corner, on a power play, if you're a goalie and you see that puck start to slide over, you're just like, oh my god, I got to get over. And then by the time you've gotten over, it's already in the net, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Your only thought at that point has to be like, I hope this hurts.
I hope,
because that's the only way you're gonna. That's the only way you're gonna know if you're gonna stop it. It's like, I just hope this better hurt, or else it's gonna be a goal.
And for Hellebuck, I mean, what a performance throughout the Four Nation faceoff, proving really that he is the best goaltender in the NHL and has been so the last 5 seasons. But man, can we talk about Mr. Game 7, Jordan Binnington, all of a sudden, hearkening back to his incredible run with the Blues in 2019 at TD Garden with all those Boston fans likely in attendance and thinking to themselves, oh my God, he's doing it to us again.
They are putting him in comparison with Eli Manning. They're he's at that level with us.
Oh my gosh. That's
he's our nightmare
territory.
Yeah. And I don't blame them, though. You have that Cinderella story in 2018 with the Blues. And the way Boston's thinking about it, they've been there multiple times. They were there in 2013, there in 2015, there in 2018. They're always there, right? They had a great core, great team. They should have won more than one Stanley Cup. For sure, Patrice Bergeron just needs more than one Stanley Cup. It's a shame. So you look at Jordan Binnington, who throughout this season, an 8.98, 2.84, nothing great.
Oh,
Overall career 907 280. Not bad, but not amazing, right? This guy is the guy who goes lights out against Austin Matthews, Matt Tkachuk, Brady Tkachuk, Quinn Hughes, Jack Hughes. The list goes on. This guy outdueled Connor Hellebuyck? Yes. In this situation, yes, he did.
It's funny because you bring up the season that they win the Stanley Cup. In that season, he played 32 games. He was 24-5-1, a 927 save percentage, and then a 189 goals against. I mean, that's just unbelievable. But it's even more important when it comes to what he did in the playoffs, though, was just sick. You have to remember a 914 save percentage and a 246 goals against average, and he wasn't playing softies. They were playing that year. They had to go through the San Jose Sharks in the Western Conference Final. They obviously had to play the Boston Bruins in the Stanley Cup Final, Dallas Stars in the second round, Winnipeg Jets when they still had, I think Kevin Hayes, and they had
Patrick Laine.
Patrick Laine, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he had his moment. And then after that, it's been a whole lot of question marks. But man, did he turn the clock back and make some unbelievable saves, especially in that overtime period.
Again, dude, you're going against Austin Matthews, 69 goals last year. Jack Hughes, Jack Hughes. Well, Jack Hughes, yeah, absolutely. Matt Tkachuk, Brady Tkachuk.
Yep.
These guys who are just not only skilled, but incredibly gritty, incredibly physical, incredibly aggressive. They're always trying to shake you up, and just stone cold, and completely ruined the night for a bunch of people in Boston. Which, not crapping on the people in Boston, but I just love a guy who goes in and just ruins an entire fan base's night. It's hard not to love that as a contrarian.
The whole thing was supposed to be a coronation night for the United States. It was, we're going to prove that we're better than them. It's going to be great because there's been tension between Canada and the United States. Canadians booing the national anthem, obviously not too happy with Donald Trump's remarks about becoming the 51st state and all that stuff. And I would say that in the moment for Canadians, I think that moment was so sweet for them to just, for a moment, the Americans have to shut up. We don't have to put up with it right now. They have to shut up, and they have to go to whatever other trash talk that they want to go to, but they can't say that they're better than us in our sport. And I, in that sense, happy for Canada because I think they needed that more than anything.
Yeah, it was, and it was funny because going into it, I was back and forth who I thought was going to win. I kind of was leaning, if I had to put money down, I put money down on Canada.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to Olivia, as soon as the game was about to start, I was like, if there's one boo during the Canadian national anthem, guaranteed they're winning it. Guaranteed. And if I'm an American fan in that building, I'm going around, everyone around me, I'm like, do not boo. Do not give them a reason because they will take it. It's like Kyrie Irving when he got back to the TD Garden. It was like, you're going to boo that guy? Yeah, he's going to drop 50 on you, man. He said the earth was flat. You think he cares about what do you think of him? No.
It's like, after Michael Jordan would have one off game in the playoffs and like for whatever reason, the Knicks media would be like, oh, Jordan's losing it. It's just like, all right, well, now he's going to ruin you for like saying that. Now he's going to go off for 58 points in like a game 3 situation. So
I don't know if Belichick has it anymore. Okay. All right. Well, now they're going to win another 3 Super Bowls because you just gave him something. Like,
this is really off topic, and we haven't mentioned it once on this podcast, but I can't help but bring it up now. Can you believe how young Bill Belichick's girlfriend is?
It's something.
It's really something, right? That is something. She, for all I know, very kind, very generous, very, very lovely.
Yes. And she dated somebody who was much older than her before, right? So it seems like it's a preference. I don't think there's any other issue with it or whatever. But it is something where you look at it and you go, okay. You see him falling asleep at the UNC basketball game?
I did see that. Yeah.
Like, dude, you wake up your boyfriend? That's kind of like, that's rough, right?
She had to wake him off so we could take his gotta poop pills. I mean, he's so old. She's 24, whatever she is, and he's 72.
Yeah.
Like, love is love. That's fine. That's
God bless him.
ridiculous.
Right.
That is insanity.
Did you see? I'm sure you saw this happened months ago, but you saw the Ring camera footage.
Maybe it was.
It's just of him like walking out and then back in, like shirtless.
I have not seen that. I gotta find that now.
And he just looks so old. He just looks so old.
Because he is.
Right. Because he's 70. You're right. Yeah. Because he's 70.
Flipping 2.
Yeah.
Gosh.
God bless him. God bless both of them. I hope they're happy. Not judging, but it is something where it's like,
this isn't me being like a bitterly jealous single guy. This is me saying that is a human 72-year-old man dating a 24-year-old woman, and everyone, just kind of like, okay, sure, if we'll make our jokes, but like that's reality. That's what's happening.
Yeah, I'm happy they're happy, but it is like, all right.
I just want to really drive it home. I really got to drive this home. Bill Belichick won his first Super Bowl as a head coach of the New England Patriots in 2001. She wasn't 2 years old by that point.
Right.
I presented without context. It's just, you don't need to add anything more to that. Okay, all right. Back to reality. Yeah, just had to break away for just a moment, talk about that because it's insane. I don't even know where we last left off of. Canada beats the United States. Good for them.
Right.
And I think that is a great stopping point for episode number 199. Flyers got the Penguins, like we said, tomorrow.
Yep.
Hopefully they'll win.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll at least look competitive. Any game that Matvei Michkov gets a few points in, it's automatically a win. They won't get the points for it necessarily, but that's a win in our book, and that's what we root for. Yeah,
I think that's probably going to be. We will probably be back before the Winnipeg game, I'm guessing.
Episode number 200. Oh my gosh.
Maybe after that, but yeah, it looks like they're going to be playing Pittsburgh and maybe Winnipeg in between then, and yeah, we'll see. Again, I'm with you where it's like I'm looking to see hopefully Mishkov continue to build off of this. Hopefully the offense continue to build off of this. Again, I'm not gunning for them to make playoffs. I don't think it would make a major difference. But at the same time, I do want to see I want to see competitive hockey. I want to see competitive, culturally nice hockey.
Yep.
Which we saw on Saturday. So hopefully that continues, and hopefully they can see what happened at that Four Nations game and think to themselves like, we want to be good enough players to be playing in a situation like that and do something about it. So
I completely agree. We're looking for competitive hockey.
That's it.
For the Fly Guys podcast, his name is Cameron Klein. My name is Justin Goodhart. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Fly Guys Podcast, on Twitter at Fly Guys Podcast. The Fly Guys Podcast is presented by Bet Online. Be happy, be healthy, and as always, let's go Flyers.